And we welcome you to another edition of Twitch Sports. My name is Seth Everett. Thank you for coming to this channel. We have some presentations for the New York Mets and the Boston Red Sox. This is going to be a lot of fun. Right now, what you're seeing is the lovely face of Harold Kaufman. He is one of the PR directors of the New York Mets, a team I used to work with. And when I put the hex on the Mets, carried it over from Darryl Hamilton, it's very simple. That is the new owner of the New York Mets, Steve Cohen. And there's lots to talk about with him and lots to hear from him. It should be a really, really good time to see from him. We are going to have this press conference live right here, and I'm going to watch it with you. I'll be on camera the whole time, and I will be broadcasting with this press conference. Steve Cohen, introduced as the new owner of the New York Mets. Sandy Alderson is an old friend, and he's returning as the team president. And that's kind of neat as well. Then we're going to stay here. I'll take comments and questions, and then what we're going to do is go to Boston and see the press conference.
Hi, everyone. Harold again. Just waiting another minute or two to let all our live feeds get situated, and we'll be beginning momentarily.
As the new manager. Well, he's the old manager, but he's the new manager again of the Boston Red Sox. That should be fascinating. Cora was suspended for his role in the 2017 Houston Astros cheating scandal, and now he finds himself back with the team that he had to part ways with, which I think is pretty fascinating as well. So in just a couple of moments, we're going to go to the press conference. You're going to see it from the New York Mets. Thanks to the Mets and the Red Sox for the access, and we are going to broadcast this live here on this channel, but I'm going to do it with you. In the past, we've aired press conferences and I've disappeared or didn't turn my camera on. We figured a way technology-wise to make sure that we can do so. If you are just joining us, a good idea to follow this channel. We're going to be doing shows. We're going to try to do shows every day. Different shows, different times, different guests, different topics. We have something big planned for Thursday I'm very excited about, and much, much more. So we have all of this coming up. You can give this channel a follow. And you can also subscribe. And if you have Amazon Prime, you can subscribe for free. Just like that. Subscribe for free. And you can do so. My time with the Mets was in 2014. I had a good experience doing it. But I had an issue with the Wilpons. I had an issue when I worked at SNY with the Wilpons. It's always been about the Wilpons for me. And my disdain for the franchise has always been about the Wilpons. Well, if there's no more Wilpons, well, maybe we can give this team a chance. And we're talking about getting an exorcist to come on the show and maybe give us get rid of the hex. And the hex, the story about the hex goes deep, deep, deep in my situation. That should never be what happens. And I promise you, that can happen any time. So in just a couple of moments, we are going to start with the press conference. I will chime in, but for the most part, I'm just going to hang here and watch, and you guys can watch too, and we're going to see this press conference. I'm interested to see who Steve Cohen is. I'm going to figure out how to make that text box a crawl. If anybody knows, let me know in the chat room, and I will take your comments and your questions as well. So we will be live here throughout. They are just about to start the press conference. Here's Harold Kaufman.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's great to see everyone. Thank you for being with us today. Welcome not only to the media on this Zoom, but to all the fans watching live feeds on all Mets social outlets, including SNY, WFAN, and MLB Network. With that, I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to Mets owner and CEO, Steve Cohen, for some opening remarks.
Good afternoon. I went to my first Mets game with my dad at the old Polo Grounds. Years later, my friends and I used to sit in the upper deck at Shea Stadium. That makes today a dream come true, not just for me, but for my wife, Alex, and my whole family. Alex's dad, Ralph, makes it to just about every home game. They're all rabid Met fans. I have a lot of people to thank today. Let me start with Fred Wilpon. We've been watching games together for many years, and he's one of the true gentlemen in baseball. Thank you, Fred, for bringing me in as a minority owner back in 2011. And thank you for your support as we transition the ownership of the team. I also want to thank Commissioner Manfred and my fellow owners for their guidance and support. And finally, I want to thank my fellow Met fans, the greatest fans in baseball. Your support has been incredible. You want us to win the World Series, and so do I. New York fans have high expectations, and I want to exceed them. I want an exceptional team. I want a team that's built to be great every year. I don't just want to get into the playoffs. I want to win a championship. Now, owning a team is a civic responsibility. You hold the team in trust for the community and for the fans. That's how I see my role as the owner of the Mets. And that's why Alex and I plan to invest in communities around Citi Field. Alex is going to lead the Mets Foundation. She's done a great job leading our family foundation. She gets involved and really knows the organizations and the communities we support. And I know she'll do the same here. Some of you may have noticed I've been tweeting with the fans. Our fans matter a lot to me. We may not always agree, but I will listen to what they have to say. I want Mets fans to have a great experience with us. You may ask what kind of owner I'm going to be. I'm going to be an owner who builds a team that has continued success. We want to create a blueprint for winning. We will hire great baseball people like Sandy Alderson. Sandy and I share the same philosophy. We want to find great players and make them better. We are starting with our homegrown talent and building from there. When we need to fill a gap, we will fill it. It might be with a free agent, or it might be through a trade. We're going to strengthen our farm system, keep our players healthy, and use the best analytics. We're going to build a process that produces great teams year in and year out. You build champions, you don't buy them. And we have a great core on this team. And we're going to get better. And I plan to make the investments we need to succeed. We want to win now, but we're also building for the long term. In my investing business, I get judged every day. I know you will judge me every day too. I'm all in. Let's go Mets.
Thank you very much, Steve. To ask a question, please click on the Participants tab, followed by the Raise Your Hand icon at the bottom of your screen. Prior to your question, please restate your name.
Just so you know, the television show Billions is based on Steve Cohen. He's an interesting guy, and I want to give him a fair shot. We're going to then continue. Let's go back to the press conference, and all the questions are going to be for Steve, and that way Sandy will come on afterwards. We're going to hear all of it right here. Don't forget, 1:30, we have the Alex Cora press conference in Boston.
From SNY. First of all, congratulations. Clearly, one of the reasons that Mets fans are so excited about this is that they feel like the team was purchased by one of them. And you started talking about this a little bit. You're a lifelong, passionate Mets fan. What is your earliest and greatest Mets memory, and what was it that originally made you fall in love with this franchise?
Well, like I said, I went to the Polo Grounds with my dad, I think 1963. And, I used to go with my buddies. We used to take the train from Great Neck, take it to the Shea Stadium stop, and, sit in the upper deck. We had a phenomenal time. And, that's when you develop your affiliations with teams, So I was 13 when they won their first World Series. And so, I'm a baseball fan. My family's, great Mets fans, great baseball fans. And so, it's going to be a family effort here, and we're all very excited.
Steve, you spoke about your vision for this franchise moving forward. Why was Sandy Alderson the right man to execute that vision right off the bat in your mind?
Well, first, he knows the Mets organization. I mean, obviously, a lot of the same people that he brought up as players are, now obviously doing great things, with the Mets. Plus, he's a total professional, and he's had a lot of experiences in baseball, and I've got a lot to learn, and I can't think of a better person to learn from.
Thanks.
Your next question is from Anthony DeComo.
Hi, Mr. Cohen. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And kind of run the gamut in terms of how involved they are in all aspects of the organization. How involved do you plan to be in various aspects, particularly in baseball operations?
Well, I played Little League once, but that's about it, right? So I'm going to let the professionals, Sandy and, the people we bring in, let them run baseball. I'm sure they'll make recommendations to me, and, it'll be a collaborative effort. But ultimately, they're the experts. And generally, but, I hold people accountable, just like I do in my business at Point 72. And, I ask probing questions, and, I expect reasonable answers, and it'll be a two-way conversation, but ultimately they're the experts.
Thank you.
Thank you. Your next question is from Disha Dozar.
Hey, Steve, congratulations.
Thank you.
Just two-parter here. What's the current job status of Luis Rojas?
I'm going to throw that over to Sandy, if you don't mind.
Sure. So if he's
Guess not.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, Sandy will be unmuted momentarily.
Okay.
I can tap dance if you want.
I think I'm unmuted. Thanks, Disha, for that question. So I have talked to Louis a couple of times since Friday, and most recently yesterday. We talked about his situation. We talked about his coaching staff. What I told Louis was that it's very likely he will be managing the Mets in 2011. But I left the door slightly ajar out of sort of respect for the process we're going through now to find a president of baseball operations. I don't want to foreclose that person from having some input, but I did have those conversations with Louis, and as I said, my expectation is that he will be managing the Mets in 2011.
Thanks, Sandy. And then just one more for Steve, if I can. Just what was that moment like when the Wilpons announced in February that your original agreement to purchase the Mets had collapsed? And did that kind of just intensify your desire to eventually become the owner?
Well, listen, I put a lot of time in trying to figure out if this was the right thing for me to do, and my whole team at my family office did a ton of work. So it was disappointing, because I really wanted to make it happen. And but so be it. It was a complicated transaction, and sometimes when things get complicated, they fall apart. And that's what happened then. And but here we are. We're sitting here today and managed to work it out, and I'm really excited.
Thank you, Steve. A reminder, if everybody, just for our audiences at home, if you could restate your name and include your affiliation. With that, the next question for Steve will be from Mike Puma.
Mike Coleman from the New York Post. Steve, as you mentioned, you've been a minority partner for several years. I'm just wondering, is there any point you became frustrated with the manner the Wilpons were running the team?
Well, listen, I'm not going to comment on, they own the team, they can do what they want. And I was a minority owner, so I sort of equate a minority owner to being like a season ticket holder. Okay. You don't really have a lot to say. So, so that was that. And but here we are today, and now I am the owner. And so I get to, be in charge myself.
And for years, the complaint's been the team doesn't spend enough money. The team's in a position now to spend a lot more money if it wants to. I mean, where could you see the payroll going conceivably?
Well, I'm not going to talk about a budget today. Sandy and I have been in conversations on that. And but what I do believe is this is a major market team. and it should have a budget commensurate with that.
Thank you.
Next question is from Tim Healy.
Hi, Steve. I'm Tim Healy from Newsday. Yeah, I was just curious, owning the Mets, having the Mets, do you see that as more of a business like Point 72 or a hobby like collecting art?
Well, the amount of work that's going to be required here is, more than a hobby. But I don't consider it like Point 72. I consider it something that I'm essentially doing it for the fans. When I really thought about this, I can make millions of people happy, and what an incredible opportunity that is. And so, that's how I'm thinking about this. I'm not trying to make money here. Okay, like I have my business at Point 72, and I make money over there. So here, it's really about building something great, building something for the fans, winning, and I just find this an amazing opportunity, and I'm so excited for it.
Thank you.
Your next question is from Justin Toscano.
Justin Toscano from The Record. Congratulations, Steve.
Thank you.
Being a fan, had followed the team. So throughout the last decade, what did you feel was missing from this franchise being able to reach that top tier? And how do you, with your resources, plan to provide that to fill those gaps?
Well, listen, I'm not going to speak about, the Mets previous to my ownership, but what I am going to say is that, we're going to build a professional organization. We're going to build out our processes and whether it's analytics, whether it's scouting, whether it's, development of players. We want to be excellent in all areas of this game. That's going to require resources, and I'm fully committed to making that happen. I'm not in this to be mediocre. That's just not my thing. I want something great, and I know the fans want something great. And so that's my goal, and that's what I'm going to do.
And on Twitter, you mentioned taking those suggestions, and you actually replied to quite a few of them. Were there two or three that maybe particularly interested you as things you would like to institute maybe as early as next year?
Well, I depending on whether we have fans or not, having an old timers day would be kind of fun. I don't know why we wouldn't do that. It appears like the Tom Seaver statue will be ready to be unveiled, so we should have festivities around that. But there were so many great ideas, and we put them all. We've archived them, and you can just tell the fans are really, really knowledgeable. They know what they're talking about, and they're the customer. So I've got to listen, and I want to listen.
Your next question is from Bruce Beck.
Steve, congratulations.
Thanks, Bruce.
How do you balance trying to win now and making a splash with trying to establish sustained success over the years?
Well, first, I think we have a really good core of players already. And so I think we're starting with a pretty good base. We've got to work on parallel tracks here. We've got to build up our baseball management team. We've got to install processes and ways of doing things that sustain excellence over a long period of time. But we want to win today, which means we're going to have to make sharp baseball decisions on who to bring in and who to go after, that's Sandy's department, like I've said, and they're going to be the experts, and they're going to make recommendations. But I'm not in this for a short-term fix. Okay, I'm really thinking about this of trying to build a sustainable franchise. Okay, I don't want to be good 1 year and bad 3 years. Okay, I want to be good every year, and that's the goal. So that's the type of business and team I want to build.
Otis, the next question is for you, if you'll introduce yourself.
Otis Livingston from CBS2. Congratulations, Steve, on the purchase of the New York Mets. You spoke really emotionally about being a fan growing up and being at different ballparks and watching them play. How do you separate in your decision making being a fan and also being a businessman? Because some owners can be emotional and go out and make changes, that they feel are necessary.
I can only tell you the way I run my business at Point 72, and I'm very measured, and very calm and try to be very thoughtful about things. I think impulsive decisions tend not to work. And so I want to make sure there are checks and balances within the organization so that, I want my people to feel like they can feel comfortable and tell me, hey, if I feel this way and they feel differently, I want them to tell me, and that's how good decision making is made. I may have a thought, they can shoot it down if they want, like I said, I'm the new guy at the table here. All right. So I got a lot to learn. And so that's why I need to surround myself with real professionals. And I'm a pretty quick study. So, over time I'll get better and I'm not worried about that. Saying that, I've got a day job too. So I've got to make sure that, that the team is operating, at full power, even when I'm doing my day job. So, and I anticipate building that.
And also, as a fan, how much is it burning inside of you to not only bring one World Series to Queens, but multiple World Series titles?
Well, the way I look at that is you win one, you got to win one first. All right. So you got to get started. And then, but, I have a feeling that's a good feeling and you want more of that. So I suspect that's what, I'm going to be shooting for. And, and that's what makes it fun, right? I mean, you want to win. No one remembers you came in second and third place.
Next question is from Bradford Davis.
Hi, Steve. Bradford Davis, in New York Daily News. Nice to meet you and congratulations. So I do know, a number of Citi Fuel workers were excited about the financial support that you had, reportedly committed to them, as many of them aren't working the normal shifts at the park. Do you have a timeline for providing that support? Maybe that might be a question for your wife if she's running the foundation, but I did want to ask that.
So I didn't really fully understand the question. So.
I apologize. To restate, I know that a number of Citi Fuel workers were excited about the financial support that you had reportedly committed to them while they're not working the usual shifts at the park, the consequences of the pandemic and everything. And I was curious if you had a timeline for providing that financial support to, out of work Citi Fuel employees.
Well, I mean, I think we committed to doing that. I own the team, so that should start fairly soon. Listen, we're committed to support our communities. My wife is so good at this. I mean, and you're going to love her, and she's all in too. So, it's an important part of, being involved with the baseball team. The communities care about it. We care about the communities. And, we're going to investigate, find out things that are worth backing and providing support for. And we look forward to that.
Thank you. And just to follow on just, community involvement, obviously this was a crazy year between the pandemic, but also the many protests that even baseballs, became a part of with the Black Lives Matter movement and everything. And I'm curious how you see the Mets organization under your leadership, being a part of this broader sort of conversation and activism on social justice.
Well, listen, I mean, I think these are important questions that, America is discussing. Black lives do matter. I feel it's really important that we have a diverse group of employees, not just for the sake of diversity, but for the sake of diversity of thought. People come from different backgrounds. I think it makes for a much more richer environment to have people from, different walks of life. If my players want to express themselves, they're entitled to do it. It's freedom of speech. The only thing I ask for is if they're going to do it, just make sure when you're between the lines, you give 100%.
Next question comes from Ron Blum. Ron, we're going to come back to you. The next question will be from Mike Vaccaro.
Hi, Steve. Mike Vaccaro from the New York Post. Congratulations.
Hey, Mike.
Two questions, disparate questions about your background as a Mets fan. One, can you name one or two players or one or two moments of your younger days as a Mets fan that really stick with you all these years later? And two, in your conversation with fellow Mets fans on Twitter, do you get a real sense that they kind of look at you as being what they could be if not for, deeper pockets and different circumstances?
The first question, Cleon Jones making the catch in left field to win the World Series. And I think I mentioned, Tom Seaver, the Jimmy Qualls, breaking up the perfect game in the ninth inning. Those stick out as two great moments. And then even one more, the obvious one, Mookie hitting the ball through Buckner's legs, which was an extraordinary, moment in baseball. So lots of good memories. And so what was the second question?
Well, when you've had these conversations with Mets fans on Twitter, obviously they're a pretty excited and excitable bunch. Do you get the sense that they kind of view you as being their proxy almost? They would be you if not for different circumstances and deeper pockets.
Listen, I grew up in Long Island. I don't have a big ego. I'm doing it for them. I'm a low key guy, and I relate to them. I know how they. I feel like I know how they feel, and these are smart. These are smart fans. They know what they're talking about. And if they're emotional, that means they care. I'd rather have emotional fans that are passionate than fans that don't care. And so, I think it's phenomenal. And I think it's, I love talking to them. And I didn't know I would love talking to them. I did it and I started enjoying it. And so I'm going to keep doing it. And, there'll be times when, things aren't going so well. And I'm still going to do it.
Next question comes from Mark Carrig.
Hi, Steve. You're just talking about being a Met fan. You talk to a lot of them, and there's always that resent about the Yankees kind of being the bigger team, getting all the free agents. How do you see that balance now that you're the owner of the Mets? Do you see yourself trying to compete with them for those types of players, beating them for those types of players, and reshaping the identity of the franchise in a way?
I'm not competing against the Yankees, okay? This is the Mets. We're going to create our own excitement. I'm competing against, 29 other clubs in MLB, all right? So, it comes down to, us making good decisions, taking advantage of opportunities that arise, which we're going to do. And, I'm a very motivated, very proactive type of guy. I just don't sit back and just accept mediocrity. And so that's, listen, you got to set goals. You got to set goals for the team. You got to set goals for the fans. We should set high goals. We shouldn't accept, just making it to the playoffs. That's not good enough. And so that means we're going to have to go out and get great players, develop great players, provide them with the resources that they're going to need, in all parts of the organization. That's what we're going to do.
When setting goals, how many seasons will you be pleased with in? Like when the Mets win the World Series, is it going to be 1 year, 2, 3? What is your standard for that?
Well, only one team wins the World Series every year. Right. So that's a pretty high bar. Mm-hmm. But if I don't win a World Series in the next 3 to 5 years, I'd like to make it sooner. Then, obviously, I would consider that slightly disappointing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Representing, of course, The Athletic. The next question is from Justin Walters.
Hi, Steve. Justin Walters, Pix 11 News. I know you touched on it a little bit earlier, but could you take us back to February and when the sale didn't go through? Was there any trepidation that you weren't going to become the owner? What was your thought process then?
I mean, like I said, it was a complicated deal. And not only that, but I was already starting to think about COVID too, and wondering if there was actually, how that might affect the deal too. So I'm not even sure it would have gone through in the end. And so it didn't happen. Sometimes deals fall through, and it's not a fault to anybody. Just that's the way it goes. And all you can do is give it a shot. And, like I said in my statement, I gave him my best shot. And lucky enough, I had the opportunity to come back and get involved, and here I am.
And one more, you mentioned about wanting to be a winner. You do a timeline of hopefully winning a championship in 3 to 5 years. How should your tenure as an owner be judged? Should it be simply if you guys win a championship, getting into the playoffs? And do you think fans will hold your feet to the fire if those expectations aren't met?
Well, if they're not met, then they should hold my feet to the fire. Listen, in the end, I'm not hitting the baseball. Okay. All I'm doing is providing the resources to my management team. And ultimately, I got to be held accountable for that. And so it's not easy winning a World Series. But like I said before, you got to set high goals.
Next question is from Tyler Kepner.
Yeah, hi, Steve. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Tyler Kepner with the New York Times. I want to ask you, what are some principles that you can take from your success in the business world and investing that you can apply to baseball, whether it's analytics or just something that has made you successful in one field, how that translate to baseball?
Well, actually, the irony, there's a lot of similarities between my hedge fund and a baseball team. I mean, I hire young people, and I have an academy. The Mets have an academy in the Dominican Republic. We take great pride in developing our people at Point 72. They come up through the organization. That's exactly what's going to happen, as players come through the farm system. I provide them lots of resources so they can do their job as effectively as possible. That's what I expect to do with the Mets. Sometimes we go out and hire people from other firms. Similar to the Mets, they'll go out and sign free agents. So there's a lot of similarities, and it's really about talent and developing talent and putting the best people out there that you can do on the field and in the organization too.
Is there anything that you'd like to see in terms of analytics or bringing the Mets up to speed with other trends around the game? Is there any emphasis there?
Well, I mean, that's part of one of the areas that we want to upgrade. I use data and analytics in my business at Point 72, and the Mets do that today. So we want to build on that and provide all the resources and the amount of people you need to have a quality analytics department. These are all little edges that you can get by having analytics, and I don't want to give them away to somebody else.
Next question comes from Dave Lennon.
Hi, Steve. Congratulations.
Thank you.
This is Dave Lennon from Newsday. I know you gave kind of a vague answer to the expenditures you might have or investing in the team payroll, and you said you're going to spend like a big market franchise. There's big market franchises, and then there's big market franchises. Do you see like that luxury tax threshold as a suggestion when it's around $200 million? And, do you see yourself as more of the upper echelon of the Dodgers and Yankees type of spending teams?
Well, listen, we're trying to formulate those thoughts today. I mean, I can promise you we're going to act, like I said, like a major market team. Are we going to act like drunken sailors, in the marketplace? No. Okay. So, listen, I want to be thoughtful. You can spend a lot of money today and then tie up your team in bad contracts for the next 5 years. Okay. Which, so that's part of building a sustainable franchise. You want to make decisions, not what works for the next, 60 games, but works for the next few years. And so We want to be thoughtful about it. I think we're in an unusual market today, given COVID, where a lot of teams might, and we're starting to see players, maybe being offloaded because of financial concerns. And I think Sandy and I want to take advantage of that. So I think there'll be lots of opportunities. I think teams are going to want to talk to us, and we'll see what's available.
Thank you.
Next up is Maggie Gray.
Hi, congratulations. This is Maggie Gray from WFAN. And you're buying a team that has 3 fourth-place finishes in the NL East in the last 4 years, hasn't made the playoffs since 2016. How close do you think this team is? And I have a follow-up.
Well, I think you can maybe ask Sandy that, he would have a better sense. My sense is that we have holes to fill. And, clearly we need to, fill catching, and we need to, we need more pitching. We have a pretty good core of core offensive players. I think that, so we have good young players. We have the best pitcher in baseball. I think that helps a lot. So we have a lot to build around. And so, but we came in fourth 3 years in a row. So, the results speak for themselves.
My follow-up question is, it seemed like a pretty spirited competition between yourself and the other bidders for the Mets.
Yeah. Who were the other bidders? I don't remember.
Maybe someone you might have heard of, Alex Rodriguez, Jennifer Lopez, minor figures really.
Yeah.
But just kidding. Have you heard from A-Rod or Jennifer Lopez since this has all resolved itself and you have now owned the team?
I haven't, and, but I certainly wish them well.
Next up is Ed Coleman.
Hey, Steve. Ed Coleman from WFAN, WCBS. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You mentioned using analytics in successful businesses and your hedge funds and that, and we kind of had a come to Jesus moment in the World Series this year with Blake Snell and the role of analytics. How do you view analytics in the game today? How do you view the role in the game of baseball?
Listen, analytics is really important, but even in my hedge fund, we combine analytics with the human component. And so I'm not going to second guess, what the Rays did. I mean, they got to the World Series. It was a heck of a team, an amazingly put together team. And so, they stuck to their game plan. And that's how they operated all year. In fact, I would argue, maybe to make that, I think it would have been hard to deviate from the game plan that got them into the World Series. So, that's what they did. And, listen, every decision, not 100%. You got to, even with the best information, the best analytics, sometimes things happen. That's just the way it is.
Thank you. Next question comes from Jeff Passan.
Hey, Steve. Jeff Passan from ESPN. Congratulations.
Thank you, Jeff.
When you're looking at what you would like this franchise to be like, is there a model out there in baseball or maybe in another sport that you say, hey, this team does things really well?
Well, I like what the Dodgers are doing. Okay. I mean, they have a really strong farm system. They take advantage of opportunities in the marketplace for free agents and trades. I think they run a pretty good business operation too. So, I think that's one team that, easily, seems to make the mark in the type of places that I want to do the same. So, I'm sure.
That's a great line that he had when he said, who are the other bidders? That's really funny. That's very, very funny.
The Mets way with the Mets culture, which is going to be uniquely ours. But listen, I'll take a good idea from anybody, and if someone's doing it better than us, I'm going to try to figure out why.
And in that vein, Steve, when you're looking for a new president of baseball operations, what are you seeking in that role? Is it someone analytically inclined? Is it somebody with a scouting background? Is there an archetype that you believe would be best for that job?
You want somebody well-rounded. right? That would have skills in all those different areas. I'm not crazy about people learning on my dime. And so, hopefully we can find someone that feels sort of, is well-rounded and, has abilities in multi areas.
Thank you. Joel Sherman, your mic is live.
Steve, Joel Sherman from the New York Post. Was there any moment where you had concerns that you would get the necessary ownership votes to get control of the Mets? And what kind of stuff did you have to do between agreement and finalization with the other owners to make them comfortable that you were the right man for this job?
I felt like I was going to get approval. I do know some of the owners already, and so and they know me, so I thought that was pretty helpful. So I wasn't really worried about it. I felt pretty good about it.
Does it bother you at all that, I mean, not every vote could be for premier of North Korea, but you weren't unanimous here. Does that bother you at all that you came in with some people at least having doubt if you were the right person to be the steward of this team?
Listen, I can't speak to what they were thinking, and all I know is I did get 26 votes, and you need 23 to be an owner, so I accomplished my goal.
Next question comes from Tim Britton.
Hi, Steve. This is Tim Britton with The Athletic. Congratulations.
Thank you, Tim.
This isn't your first attempt at buying a Major League Baseball franchise. I was wondering, in the time since you attempted to buy the Dodgers about a decade ago, how much have you thought about what kind of team, what kind of organization you want to build over that time?
Yeah, I mean, I came in second with the Dodgers, which means nothing. And, it's not easy to find a team that you actually, I didn't want to travel to certain cities so I actually felt there may be I may never get another opportunity to own a team that I would want to own. And lucky enough, the Mets, came up for sale, and so now I get the opportunity to put my imprint on a team. And I'm a stickler for detail. I'm a stickler for a strong process. I don't suffer, people who give me responses that are mediocre. I see through that fairly quickly. I'm not a micromanager. I really. I'll hold my people accountable, but I give them a lot of rope to run. I have a day job, right? So I've got two jobs now. And so, but I feel like we're going to build a management team around me that I can, I can collaborate with and give them the rope to run. I'm not going to sit there and second guess every decision. It's not my style.
And you mentioned building a Mets way and a Mets culture. What, if you could describe that in brief, basically, what do you want the Mets culture to be?
Well, I want professionalism. I want integrity. I'm not going to put up with maybe the type of stuff that's happened in other places. And I want to hire the best and brightest. And I want to create a great farm system, develop our players, and provide an environment, and also let's not forget the fans, provide a product and when they interact with me at the stadium or on our media platforms, wherever, that their experience is extraordinary.
Thank you. Next up is Kevin Kernan. Kevin,
Steve,
unmute.
Congratulations. And I'm just curious, you talk so much about building through the minor leagues, which I love to hear, and the opportunity you have now to get scouts. But as a Mets fan, not as the owner, what was your reaction when they traded Jared Kelenic, and what that did for the future?
Listen, I'm not going to question what happened in the past. They made their decision. I'm sure it was well informed. Generally, our belief is we want to hold on to our farm system, and only use them when we're, close to, if we need to use them as chips to trade for a player, that we do it when we're close to really winning a championship. I feel really, in my own hedge fund, the key to my firm is that we develop talent all the time. If I didn't do that and depended on just going out in the world and getting hiring people from on the outside, I'd be out of business. Okay, so I really feel it's important that we draft well and develop our players and hold on to them.
Ron Blum, we're coming back to you.
Hey, Steve, when you look at your background and your business experiences, what are the different attributes you've picked up along the way that you think translate well to running a baseball team?
I think you got to be patient. You got to create, decision-making processes in the business that, are sustainable decision-making, so that you're planning, you're providing, like I said before, resources so that people can do their jobs and do it well. And that's what I do at my hedge fund. I provide every resource I can think of so my analysts and PMs can perform to the top of their ability. And that's what we're going to do with the Mets. We're not going to just spend money wildly, but, we want to have great coaches. We want to have great technology. We want to have great analytics. We want to have great people making decisions. We want a collaborative culture. Okay. We don't want it being run in an autocratic way. Best ideas come out of the organization. Okay. Like some of the best ideas in Point 72 came from someone within the organization who had an idea. And so, like I said, I'll take a great idea from anybody.
I think we have time one more for Steve before we get to Sandy. Rich Catino, your line is open. Rich, please unmute.
I think Rich left. He gave up.
All right. We are going to then move on to Bob Clappish. We will wrap up Mr. Cohen with you. Bob, your line is open.
Hi, Steve. It's Bob Clappish from Star Ledger and NJ.com. Congratulations.
Hey, thank you.
I'm just curious, going back to your days as a rabid Met fan growing up, what was your opinion of the Yankees? If you don't want to comment on them now as an owner, but as a fan, did you admire them from afar or were they brand X?
The Yankees have a great history, right? I mean, they've won 27 championships, 28. So, that's pretty impressive. And so, that's what happens when you build a great organization, and they had that. Saying that, there were times when the Mets were great too.
Right.
And so, we just want to, be great more often. And so that's what I'm focused on. And I'm ready for the challenge, I'm all in here.
Great. Thank you.
Great. Steve, thank you very much for your time today. Very much appreciated. And with that, we will now turn over our attention to questions for Sandy Alderson. Please, again, remember to use the raise your hand icon. And we will begin with the first question from Steve Gelbs.
Hey, Sandy. For you, what was the key ultimate factor that made you decide that you wanted to come back to the Mets and take on this new challenge?
I think it was Steve Cohen. I mean, you've just heard him over the last few minutes, and I think that that's what excited me, was the opportunity to come back and work with a guy like Steve, whose vision parallels my own. I sent him a memo a few months ago, actually, to talk about that. I think we're very well aligned in terms of philosophy and strategy and potential execution. But ultimately, it was about Steve. I mean, look, I love the opportunity to be able to come back to the Mets. There are a lot of people there that I know, I respect, I love even. And I'm excited about meeting new people because I'm always excited about new ideas. But first and foremost, it was Steve. And so I'm excited about the partnership and really looking forward to what happens over the next few months. You know, the last time I won a World Series was 31 years ago. So that 3 to 5 year time frame, it's a little concerning, but we'll live with it.
Well, Sandy, when this deal became official, you were pretty swift in your decision-making, parting ways with many members of the front office during these past couple of years. Why did you feel that was the necessary first step, and how do you now plan on structuring a new front office?
Well, in my experience, I think that anytime there's a change of ownership or a change of leadership at or near the top, there are going to be changes made in the levels of leadership. And partly it's not because people aren't capable. It's not because people aren't competent. I have a great deal of respect for Brody and for Allard and obviously Omar. But in terms of how we envision the team being structured, its decision-making processes, as Steve pointed out, all of those have to be aligned with the personalities. So it's not just competency, it's also about how people interact. And so, in addition to that, we're going to have a new head of baseball operations. It's not going to be me. And sometimes it's better to make these decisions in advance to give a new person a chance to make their own choices and not have to come in and their first act is to terminate some people. So, and I felt it was important from a timing standpoint. I felt it was important just for alignment of the leadership of the organization. And so we ended up doing it on Friday.
Thanks.
Next up, Tim Healy, your mic is live.
Hi, Sandy. Tim Healy.
Hey, Tim.
Hi. Front office search-wise, what is the state of that, and what do you expect timeline-wise, given that it's already mid-November?
So two things happened on Saturday. We had a new president-elect, and I interviewed my first candidate for president of baseball operations. So we're already we're already on our way. We're already involved in the process, and that was one interview. There will be others. We're currently evaluating exactly how many and who we will pursue, but this shouldn't take a long time. Wouldn't want to put a time limit on it, but we understand that it's important to get people in place. In the meantime, I've got a small but very capable group remaining. We talk every morning for an hour or so. I have already been in touch with agents for free agents. I've talked to some of our own players currently, and I've also reached out to Luis Rojas. So there's a lot going on, most of it behind the scenes, but I don't think we're behind at all. And particularly this year with, I think, what will be a slower developing free agent market, together with a sort of a additional market that will develop at the tender date and through the trading period. So it's going to be exciting. There are a lot of different options. I think Steve pointed out we want to be active in all of those areas, and I think we have the resources to do that.
And you mentioned sending a memo to Steve a few months ago to, I think, talk about the Mets.
Yeah.
When did that happen, and were you looking to come back?
Well, this memo happened well after we'd had our first conversations. And so I thought in order for Steve to be comfortable with me, that he needed to hear some of my thoughts. And so, I put together something that I thought would encapsulate my thinking and hope that it would align with his. And ultimately, I think it did. But what's important to me is not having a job, but having an opportunity to create something really special. And I think with Steve, and you've just heard him, I think with his, not just his intellect, but his thought processes and enthusiasm, together with what I think is the appropriate way to approach all of this from a philosophical, a strategic, and a sort of an execution standpoint, I'm really excited. And with that memo, I think we understand each other pretty well. And as I said, I'm really excited, and I think that we're on the right page and we're heading the right direction.
Ed Coleman, we're going to come to you next.
Hey, Sandy, welcome back. Congratulations. Good to see you. You mentioned the head of baseball operations that you're looking at now. Can you go through a couple of things here? Can you go through like the pecking order? Is there a general manager under the head of baseball operations? And what is the input from people as far as that and the manager as well?
So first of all, Ed, good to see you again. If I put on my reading glasses, it'd be like looking in a mirror, okay?
Many people have said that, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's true, because I recognize those glasses. They're from Walgreens, right?
Yeah, no, CVS. But what?
Okay, all right. So we both shop at the drugstore. So with respect to the president of baseball operations, I think that what we're looking for is the most accomplished baseball person we can find. And from there, the rest of the structure will flow. So it's very possible that we'll have a general manager beneath that person. But I think that, we're going to allow that person to have some input into how the structure ultimately is created. So, I've got some ideas, but they're more general. We want a very collaborative organization. I'm not going to make the baseball decisions. I expect to have a seat at the table, but I don't expect to be, seated at the head of the table. So we're going to have a process. It's going to be collaborative. This person is going to have a lot of runway, and we're going to build the organization around him. Now, I think we've got some very capable people in-house, and so it's not as if we need to start from scratch. But once we get that person in, then I think we'll figure out exact roles for existing personnel as well as some others that we may bring in. But, I'm very excited about that. As far as, the manager is concerned, with the caveat that this new baseball leader will have some input into the managerial decision. I've told Louis that he's very likely our manager in 2011. And so
21.
21, I'm sorry. So, so from that standpoint, Louis and I have had conversations. We've talked about the coaching staff, and of course, I know Louis from my years with the Mets before. He's a very capable and fine individual, and I like him a lot.
Thank you. Next up, Joel Sherman, your line is open.
Sandy, I know Steve Cohen tried to dance of trying not to compare previous administration to this one, but you literally worked for one and now you work for the other. And I wonder.
All right. We are going to take a timeout here. We're going to end this. We're going to leave the Mets press conference because the Red Sox one is starting in a second. So I just want to remind everybody who I am, and this is I understand, Andrew, you're not a Mets fan. That's okay. I'm not a Mets fan either. But what I am is very impressed with Steve Cohen, and I like Sandy Alderson a lot. I met Sandy back in 2002 in Japan during the MLB versus Japan All-Star Series. I thought he was just a pleasure of a guy, and he was a gem. When I worked with the Mets, he was great. He was battling cancer. I got a chance to meet his daughter, and she lives in our town. And I think the world of the Aldersons. And Sandy Alderson is just class incarnate, and he's just a great guy. Now we are going to go to Boston. Alex Cora being named the manager of the Boston Red Sox is fascinating because this doesn't make sense to me. What I would like to know from them is, do they really think that we're foolish enough to not think that this was a plan the whole time? The Boston Red Sox parted ways with Alex Cora in January of this year because Alex Cora was about to be suspended for the season for his role in the 2017 Astros cheating scandal. And the Red Sox tanked it. I mean, they were awful. And I'm not blaming them for being awful, but they were genuinely awful. And the crazy part about all this is you're talking about a scenario where, look at that, we're just like that, we're live at Fenway. This is so cool. I love this technology. This is so neat. So Alex Cora, he served a suspension. He's more than entitled, but the Red Sox went back to him? At least A.J. Hinch didn't go back to the Astros. A.J. Hinch went to the Detroit Tigers, and he's going to have to work his way back. But were we not all offended by the Astros? And I think this is a very strange meeting. And this press conference is about to start, I believe.
Boston Red Sox. In a few moments, you'll have an opportunity to hear from Alex, as well as Red Sox President and CEO Sam Kennedy, Chief Baseball Officer Chaim Bloom, and General Manager Brian O'Halloran. Before we get to your questions, I'd like to turn it over to Sam for opening remarks, followed by Chaim and Alex.
Thanks, Justin. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. Thanks for being here today. I just wanted to say two quick things at the outset. First, a huge welcome back, welcome home to Alex and your family. We are ecstatic to have you back at Fenway, where you belong. A great day for the franchise. And I want to say a huge thanks to everyone who helped make this possible. I want to thank the Commissioner's Office, our ownership group, all of the colleagues in the front office who were a part of this process. But I especially want to thank the guy sitting to my right, Chaim Bloom, our Chief Baseball Officer. Chaim has been with us for a year. It's been a long year. It's been a challenging year in many ways. But I am so proud to work alongside of him, as are all of us in the front office. Just brought an incredible level of leadership to the front office, to the Red Sox, and really impressed with the process that he and his team ran, and grateful for a really, really good process and a great result. So Chaim, thank you. And on behalf of Red Sox fans, thank you. And I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Thanks to everybody for virtually being here with us. Hope everybody and all of your families are holding up all right. We are very pleased to welcome Alex Cora back to the Red Sox. Alex needs no introduction here. We all know him as a brilliant baseball mind who can lead and who can inspire as well as anybody in the game. He has shown he can get the best out of players, and we're looking forward to a really bright future with him at the helm. When we spoke, and when I spoke with this group after the season, I told everybody that there would be a time and a place when we could talk about Alex. That time is now. With our managerial search complete, BOH and I look forward to sharing our thoughts on both Alex and the search process. We know there's going to be many questions, a lot to discuss, and we look forward to addressing it all. Before we do that, I just want to thank a few folks. Certainly within our front office, BOH, our assistant GMs, Raquel, Eddie, Zach, for all of the time and work to get us to this point and throughout the whole process. Also, many of our baseball ops leadership for their work on due diligence and background and consultations as we work through this. Thank you also.
Did we just lose him? You guys can't hear him, right? But you can hear me. That's really weird.
We really appreciate their patience. So thank you all again. We're excited, and turn it over to Alex for a few words.
That was me.
Well, first of all, I want to thank my family back home. Angelica, Camila, Xander, Isander, Mom, my sister, Joy. You know, it's been a tough year. And to spend time with you guys, it was amazing this year. But like I've been saying all along, I was spending time at home for the wrong reasons.
That's totally
and for that, I want to apologize. I deserve what happened this year. It was something that I'm not proud of it. But, you know, we went through the whole process with Commissioner's office, the Department of Investigations. And at the end, you know, I got my penalty and I serve it. I want to apologize to the organization to put him in such a tough spot coming into the season. You know, I never thought that's what was gonna happen. I never thought I was gonna be in that situation, but I was. And watching from afar, and like I told Haim and I told everybody else, the whole group, when we decided to part ways, you know, sorry for what happened, and sorry for what happened during the year. I think, you know, as a leader, as a person that, you know, enjoys the game and loves to manage, you know, I put this organization in a tough spot, and for that, I'm sorry. To baseball, the baseball fans, you know, I'm here. You know, I was humbled by this whole situation. I learned a lot throughout the year, and a lot of people were saying that, okay, you spend time with your family, that was good, but like I said before, it was great for them, it was great for me, but I was there for the wrong reasons. I'm not proud of that, and I want to make sure everybody knows that this situation is part of who I am. You know, for the rest of my career, as a man, I have to deal with it. I don't want people to make it seem like it's a great comeback story. I don't want that. I'm actually gonna use this bad experience to make people better, starting at home with Xander, Isander, and Camila. You know, the process started early in the year, and we're gonna keep continuing. I know there's a lot of people that I disappointed, and for that, I'm sorry. And also telling those people that, hey, I'm still Alex. I made a mistake. I still love the game. I still love what I do. And I promise you that from, you know, now on, you know, I'm gonna use this experience the right way. I'm not proud of it. I'm not happy about it, but we have to move on. I'm happy to be back home. This is the place I really enjoy to work. And I appreciate John, Tom, Linda, Mike, Sam for the opportunity, Haim for the whole process. You know, it wasn't easy, but it was as genuine as possible. And I think, you know, we worked together a little bit last year, and I think our working relationship is going to keep getting better. And I think our personal relationship is already better. BOH, thank you. Raquel, Zach, Eddie, I love you. Thank you for trusting me, and let's get back to work.
At this time, we can begin the Q&A. As a reminder, please note that your lines will remain muted. To ask a question, click on Participants at the bottom of your screen, then select Raise Hand. If you are called on, you will be prompted to unmute your line. We'll get to as many of your questions as we can, and we thank you for your patience and cooperation. Our first question comes from Johnny Miller, WBZ Radio. Johnny, go ahead.
Hi, Alex. Alex, can you hear me? Okay. Number one, how surprised are you that the Red Sox rehired you? And number two, what can be done to get the teams back in the playoffs and the World Series this year?
Honestly, when the suspension happened, this is the last thing I was thinking. You know, I needed to take care of a lot of things on a personal level, take care of my family. And, you know, baseball was far away from my thoughts. I got a phone call from Haim, you know, after a few days after the World Series. I don't even know, you know, specific when it was,
it was a text and then a phone call, and we started talking, and we decided that we were going to talk. And like I told Haim and BOH, I never saw that day coming, but it happened, and little by little, the conversations got deeper and deeper, and they made the decision. But honestly, early in the year, throughout the year, to be here right now talking to you, Johnny, I never thought it was gonna happen. As far as becoming world champions again, there's a process. There's a process in place, and we got some talented players, but we got work to do. As you know, I'm a baseball fan, so throughout the summer I watch a lot of games. Although some people don't believe that, but I did. And there's a few things that I watched, not only from this organization, but others, and I have some ideas to keep getting better. So we're in a process right now to keep getting better, and if we do the things that we have to do, we'll see where it takes us. Thank you, Johnny. Good to see you.
Your next question comes from Pete Abraham of the Boston Globe.
Alex, you said before in your opening statement that you learned a lot this past year. Can you kind of maybe detail what you learned and how do you think it'll affect you moving forward in this job?
Well, I learned, well, I knew I was going to miss a game, as you know, Pete. And, it's my passion. I've been doing this since I've been around the game since I was 4 years old, and I missed a game. At the same time, I made some bad decisions, and you got to take ownership. And just being able to be a dad, obviously the kids, they're still 3. They don't understand what was going on right now, but some deep conversations with my daughter, with Angelica, with my mom, talking to Joey throughout the year, how wrong I was. And the only thing I can do now is getting better, and I will be better. I'm surrounded by a team that they're going to help me out, and we're going to keep moving forward. Thank you, Pete.
Next question comes from Ian Brown.
Hey, Alex, you had just said that you didn't think you were going to be back in this spot. What made you think that, and what do you think changed that?
The suspension, to be honest with you, and going into the season, that was like, I knew I wanted to come back to the game, but I didn't know how fast. There was a lot of talk within the family, and you put him first. And this is not, like I always said, this is not an easy place. Here in Boston, there's some other places too that it was going to be quote unquote tough. But talking to them, we were very open-minded. Little by little, they understood, that probably not this year, but probably in 2 years or 3 years, something was gonna open up, and there was a chance to get back to the game. But honestly, like I said before, so soon, I never saw it. But I think it started with the family. They understand where we at now and what we want to accomplish, not only in the professional life, but as a person. There's a lot of things that we're very excited that might happen, in the next few months as far as the family. And I think this is part of it. And that's the reason when Haim and BOH text me and call me, I was like, you know what? Let's talk and see where it takes us. And here we are. We're in home play of Fenway Park. Good to see you.
Next question comes from Jen McCaffrey.
Hi, this is just a question for you. I was just curious about the process itself. I know you had several conversations with Alex over the course of the month, and obviously interviewed several other candidates. But what about Alex this time around? Did you, prompted you to give him this job, and what over the course of those conversations was the reason that made you think he was good to come back?
Yeah, I think, I could detail a lot of Alex's strengths as a manager. I don't think I have to. I think everybody on this call, everybody in this town knows what those are. So those were apparent to me. I hadn't experienced them firsthand, obviously, other than in the off season last winter, the few months that we did work together. But I knew the strengths that he had. I actually, over the course of the year, also in observing the organization, got to learn, about things that would have been areas of improvement for him had he stayed with us. We all have strengths. We all have areas of improvement. Then obviously there was, the suspension, what led to the suspension and all that to wrestle with. When we started the process after the season, we spent a lot of time coming up with a really good list of candidates. We vetted them very thoroughly. We talked to a number of people. I knew, as I said the other day in my statement, I knew at that time that I wanted to have some kind of conversation with Alex when it was okay to do so, which wouldn't be till after the World Series. I really didn't know then if he was, in my mind, a real consideration for the job. I just thought it would be good for me, good for him, good for the organization, since we really hadn't spoken since everything happened in January, and things happened very quickly in January. I thought there were a lot of things to work through even before, we got to the question of whether he could be a fit for this job. But, I knew obviously a lot of the wonderful things that he brought to the table in the abstract. I mean, those are a lot of qualities you look for in a manager, and especially a manager for the Boston Red Sox. So when the time came to speak with him, we had a lot of different things to work through. We were able to have some really intense conversations. Obviously, everything happened quickly within the week plus after the World Series, but we got to work through a lot of things, and it was really just a question of trying to get as much information as I could to see Alex in full, the whole person, everything that he had done, good and bad, and everything that he might do if he were a manager again, and then to line that up along with the other candidates we were considering. And at the end of the day, I felt he was the right choice to lead us forward.
Next question comes from Jason Mastrodonato.
Hey, Alex. You talked a lot in the couple of years that you were here about the importance of paying attention to details and playing the game the right way. And, I think a lot of people are wondering if you knew in 2017 that what you were doing was wrong, or if it took, getting caught in the very public display of the discipline and the fallout to learn that lesson.
Jason, sorry, can you say it again? The last part of the question?
Oh, yes. Say it again. That's a great question, and that's my point.
Yeah, so I was just wondering if you knew at the time in 2017 that what you were doing was wrong, or if it kind of took the getting caught in the public display of the discipline to learn that lesson for you.
Honestly, I can only speak how I felt this year. I don't want to get into details about what happened in 17, but, it's a tough lesson. Like I said, all I can do right now is apologize and get better and move forward. I'm not proud of what happened. I said it a few times already today. I did say it during the summer. One of the things that you do as a leader, right, is to put these guys in situations to be successful. And the way, I did it, we did it with that group over there, it wasn't the right way. And for that, I'm going to say it today, I'm going to say it tomorrow, I'm going to say it the rest of my life. For that, I'm sorry.
The next question comes from Nielsen Pepin.
Hey, Alex, saludo. Felicidades por tu nueva posición.
Gracias.
En tu mente, ¿qué pasó? 11 meses sin béisbol, sale del béisbol de una manera que tú mismo has dicho que no ha sido la mejor. Ahora, el sentimiento tuyo de regresar a tu organización a la que tú le llevaste el campeonato, tu sentir, ¿cómo se siente Ale Cora de regresar a su equipo y ponerse el uniforme de Boston?
I know Spanish, I know Espanol, but I can't say exactly what he's saying. My whole point is he knowingly cheated the game. He knowingly took part in it. A.J. Hinch wasn't that guy. A.J. Hinch didn't look the other way, which is a crime in its own right. But Alex Cora was the mastermind behind the whole thing. That's the argument. And that argument is very real. I'm sorry. That argument's very real. The fact remains is that this guy knowingly cheated the game, and he just got caught. And why he is brought back by the Red Sox when they interviewed 10 other managers, I think it's very curious. I don't like the move. I don't.
Hey, Alex and Chaim, maybe you can both answer this. Just the process, and Chaim, you talked about the conversations that you had. Those conversations got deeper. Chaim, maybe you begin with at what point in that process, was it early on in talking to Alex that you started to realize this is the guy you wanted? Did that evolve over time? And then, Alex, if you could follow up, you said you didn't expect this to happen. At what point in that process did you realize this might be happening?
Yeah, for me, when we were having our meeting with Alex, I really, at that point, was trying to stay in the moment. And as we were headed to the meeting, I was really telling myself, you need to make sure you get every question answered that's on your mind, that you ask everything you need to ask. Again, not just for determining his fit as a manager, but also because this is a big deal what happened. And it was, event that it took its toll on all of us. Obviously, Alex has described that with respect to himself, but we all went through something, and there was a lot to process. So, I told myself I needed to make sure I addressed everything that I needed to address, and that we talked about everything possible. So I tried to stay in the moment with that and then process it after the fact. As we were headed back and in the days that followed, while talking to, look, one of Alex's great gifts is, I think anybody who's ever had a conversation with Alex Cora knows this about his passion for the game and how he's able to reach people and to light up a room. And I don't think it's possible to have a conversation with Alex without feeling those things. But really, it wasn't until kind of coming back and then processing everything and getting down to the wire on a decision that things started to crystallize for me.
From my NTC, I was fortunate that, Chaim called me, is like, let's talk. I think that was, regardless of the result, I think us being able to talk and go over stuff, and it was intense, it was genuine, it was tough. Because there were some tough questions, and, we spent a lot of time together. BOH was part of the process too. And then I kind of like, okay, there's a chance, I just wanted to talk to him and go over a few things. Little by little, I started feeling a little bit anxious, because they were going through the process. And for me, it was different because I didn't have a job. It's like, okay, if this doesn't happen, we'll be okay, right? You're spending time with the family, but just to know that they talked to me and then the process started, you start looking around and you see the stuff at the house and you're like, hey, there's a chance. But I wasn't 100% sure this was going to happen. We actually had another conversation that I think was very positive, for both of us. And, I didn't know till the last, Thursday evening, Thursday afternoon. So, I don't know. I'm the way I put it, TC, I was fortunate that I was going to be able to talk to them. And I'm just, happy that, I'm the guy that he decided to go with. And, I'm not going to disappoint him.
The next question comes from Dan Roach.
Hey, Alex, just a thought on, are you prepared for what's ahead as far as just trying to handle, we saw, kind of the, for lack of a better word, the hatred towards the Astros this year when they went from city to city to play. How concerned are you about that? And what kind of conversations will you have with your players going forward about what's happened and also looking ahead to the future?
I already had some conversations with players about this, and it's something that if I didn't feel, in a personal note, if I didn't feel prepared for what's coming, I probably would have declined a phone call or a text. I say, you know what, I'm not ready for this. Thank you, but no thanks. And I know it's going to be tough in certain places, but I understand. As long as we stayed together, and I surround myself with people that they're going to be in my corner and understanding that, hey, some of what's going to happen is for me, it's personally for me. I can deal with that. My players, they have a job to do. The organization, they're going to do everything possible to keep getting better. I think I'll be okay. Those conversations probably were deeper with the family, and we decided as a family that, let's do this. There's going to be some great days. There's going to be some tough days, but we're going to stick together and we're going to keep moving forward.
Next question comes from Rob Bradford.
Hey, Alex. Can you talk about your conversations with the ownership group? I would assume you had conversations with the ownership group, what that was like?
Actually, we just talked today, with the group, and I know they were disappointed for everything that happened. Like I said, I'm fortunate that they let Chaim go through the process, and here we are. But they've been very supportive. They understand that we all make mistakes. It's what I'm gonna do from now on to avoid those mistakes and put this organization where it should be. And I do believe that we have the group to do it. We have a vision, and of course, it starts up there. With John, Linda, Mike, Tom, and Sam to trust me, to trust Chaim, to make this decision. And as a group, we're gonna be fine. And I get why people are supportive now. I know what they are also disappointed of what happened. I'm not gonna hide it. I understand all that stuff. So we're in a good place. We are in a great place as an organization, and now it's time to move forward.
The next question comes from Pedro Castro.
Hola Alex, ¿qué tal? Buenas tardes, bienvenido nuevamente. Me gustaría conocer en principio qué mensaje le envías tú a aquella parte de la fanaticada que aún le cuesta un tanto pasar la página y se sienten un poco defraudados, decepcionados por lo acontecido. ¿Qué mensaje le envías a esas personas? Bienvenido nuevamente.
Gracias, Pedro. Entiendo que hay gente que está contenta.
I have no problem with this, being bilingual. I just wanted to talk during it. And I have to actually wrap this up because we have a podcast recording coming soon. But I have just one thought, and it just bothers me. It really does. I don't think this is the right hire. I don't think the Red Sox took the cheating scandals seriously, and what they did was they hodgepodged 2020 just like they hodgepodged this suspension, and they couldn't wait to get him back. And they know it. They absolutely know it. We will see